In this lecture, we'll discuss the Preston Partners case. There are two key players in this case study, Sheldon Preston and Gerald Smithson. Preston is the senior partner at Preston Partners and Gerald Smithson is a portfolio manager who works for Preston. The case context is that Preston is concerned that Smithson might have used insider information to purchase two stocks, the stocks of Utah Biochemical and Norgood. Specifically, here is what happened. Smithson purchased the shares of these two companies, and a few weeks after the purchase, the two companies announced a merger and the share prices went up considerably. The reason Sheldon Preston is concerned is that he knows that the CEO of Utah Biochemical knows Smithson. In fact, Smithson manages the CEO's personal portfolio and Smithson also manages Utah Biochemical's pension fund. So clearly there is a cause for concern. But when we dig deeper into what happened, then the situation is not that bad. So here is what happened and here is why Smithson bought these two shares. Smithson is aware of the industry in which these two companies operate. And a few weeks ago, when Smithson was on vacation, he actually saw the CEO of Utah Biochemical meeting with the CEO of Norgood. And while he did not hear exactly what was said, the meeting or the conversation appeared to be intense and very upbeat. So Smithson essentially put two and two together. He took this piece of non-public information and combined that non-public information with public information that he collected from various sources and concluded that both companies, Biochemical and Norgood, were good stocks to buy. He also felt that given the product lines of these two companies, a merger between the two would benefit both. So based on his analysis, he decided to buy a large number of shares in both companies for his clients. If you recall from your study of the code and standards, what Smithson has done is that he has followed the mosaic theory. With the mosaic theory, an analyst can put together non-public information that is not material with public information to come up with an investment strategy. So now that we understand the context, it is actually okay for Smithson to have bought shares in these companies. But then the last few paragraphs of this case study identify potential issues. And I'll start reading from here. Convinced of the positive prospects for Utah Biochemical and Norgood, Smithson put in a block trade of 50,000 shares of each company. The purchase orders were executed during the next 2 weeks. Smithson had not personally executed a block trade for some time. He usually left execution up to an assistant. Because this trade was so large, however, he decided to handle it himself. He glanced at the section on block trades in the Preston Partners Policy and Procedures Manual, but the discussion was not clear on methods for allocating shares. So this is going to be a red flag that we'll talk about. So he decided to allocate the shares by beginning with his largest client accounts and working down to the smallest accounts. This again is going to be an issue. Smithson's clients ranged from very conservative personal trust accounts to pension funds with aggressive objectives and guidelines. Note here that we have a sense for the types of clients, but Unfortunately, Preston Partners does not maintain formal IPSs for its clients. At the time of Smithson's decision to make the share purchase, Utah Biochemical was trading at 10 a share, Norwood ADRs were trading at 12 a share. During the next 2 weeks, the price for each company's shares rose several dollars, but no major or takeover announcement was made until yesterday. So now let us look at the possible violations of the code and standards. One violation is that of standard 3C, which has to do with suitability. The standard says that an investment manager must consider the client's tolerance for risk, needs, circumstances, goals, and preferences in matching a client with an investment. And note that what Smithson is doing is that he is allocating shares of both companies to his clients without understanding the risk return objectives of the clients, without understanding the constraints of the clients. So clearly some clients are conservative, others are more aggressive. And if we read the case carefully of the two companies, Norwood has been quite stable. The stock price has been stable, so it is safe and would probably be appropriate for the conservative investors. The other company, Utah Biochemical, has been much more volatile and would probably not be an appropriate stock to buy for the conservative investors. So this is one violation. Another violation has to do with the allocation of trades. And note how the allocation is happening over here. Smithson allocates the shares by beginning with his largest client accounts and working down to the small accounts. If we read the rest of the text carefully, we notice that over a 2-week period where this relatively large block trade executes, the share price increases. If Smithson is first buying for the big clients, then for the smaller clients, clearly this is not fair for the smaller clients because the smaller clients are having to pay a higher price. So this is not fair and a violation of standard 3B, fair dealing. And standard 3B states that members shall deal fairly with clients when taking investment decisions. And clearly the dealing has not been fair because smaller clients are paying a higher price. The standard doesn't say exactly how the allocation should be done. So it says that allocation should be fair, but it is not clear on how we make allocation fair. On the next slide, when we look at one possible policy that can suggest how the allocation can be made fair. Essentially what the CFA Institute is doing is letting each company ascertain what is fair and how to make things fair. Another point made in the case is that fair is not the same as equal. So we cannot treat all clients equally. There might be different levels of service. Different clients will have different risk return objectives, different constraints. Therefore, it is not appropriate to say that all clients should be treated equally, but it is appropriate to say that clients should be treated fairly. Coming now to the responsibilities of supervisors, what we note here is that the supervisor has not made the trade allocation rules very clear, and that is stated over here. Smithson glanced at the section on block trades and could not find any clear methods for allocating shares. So this is a violation of standard 4C, responsibilities of supervisors. What the supervisor, in this case Preston, should have done is made the policy very clear so that somebody like Smithson would have clear instructions on how he should allocate the shares across different clients. Coming now to the policy statements. And the first one is somewhat long, but it is important. This has to do with responsibilities to clients and interactions with clients. The main point is to understand what investment is suitable for a particular client and then to only purchase the suitable investments for those clients. For each client of the firm, portfolio managers, in consultation with the client, shall prepare a written investment policy statement setting out the objectives, the constraints, and the asset mix policy that meets the needs and circumstances of the client. Managers shall insert this analysis in each client's file. Portfolio managers shall review and confirm the investment policy statement at least annually and whenever the client's business or personal circumstances create a need to review them. In their client relationships, portfolio managers should be alert to any changes in the client's circumstances that would require a policy review. When taking investment action, policy managers shall consider the appropriateness and suitability of an investment to the needs and circumstances of the client. Managers must satisfy themselves that the basic characteristics of the investment meet the written guidelines for the client's account. This is fairly self-evident and self-explanatory. So essentially, an IPS should be in place for every client, and that IPS should be kept up to date and should also be followed when making investment decisions for a particular client. Next, we come to the allocation of trades. All client accounts participating in a block trade shall receive the same execution price and be charged the same commission, if any. All trade allocations to client accounts shall be made on a pro rata basis prior to or immediately following part or all of a block trade. So notice that the emphasis here is on fairness and all clients, small and big, getting the same price. And finally, responsibilities of supervisors. Employees in a supervisory role are responsible for the actions of those under their supervision with regard to compliance with the firm's policies and procedures and any security laws and regulations that govern employee activities. This is fairly self-evident, and this is something that Preston should have been doing. That is it for this case.